Hello, and thanks for tuning in today to the Well Off Podcast. Today, I interviewed Gillian Irving, who is an awesome person, actually. I had a really good time with her. She is a full-time real estate investor, focuses on student rentals. She's got some rent-to-own projects now. She's expanding a little bit, but she told me that for many years, all she did was just put her head down and focus on acquiring student rentals. She loves the cash flow that they provide. So we discuss some of the pros and cons of them, and also some of the things to look out for, some of the mistakes she's made. She's also a part owner of a SkyZone trampoline park in Whitby. Her sister has the master franchise rights in the GTA. So it was really cool to find out a little bit about that. I hope you'll enjoy. Listen in. Let me know what you think. And as always, if you come across someone who's looking to get into some investment in real estate, I'd love to help them out. Reach out to me, george@welloff.ca, and I'll be sure to take great care of them. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Well Off Podcast, where the goal is to motivate, inspire, and share success principles. I'm here with Gillian Irving. She is a full-time investor. She likes to say that she was an accidental investor at first because she bought her first home was a duplex in downtown Toronto in Leslieville in 2009. She wasn't really prepared, didn't really plan for it. It just kind of happened. And at that time, she was looking to possibly leave her job and provide long-term financial security for her disabled son and 3 other children. And over 18 months, she managed to buy 35 doors in Ontario. And as I mentioned to you just a few seconds ago, at this time, she's a full-time investor, an entrepreneur, a coach. She does many other things we will discuss soon. She focuses on student rentals for the most part, but she does things like rent to own and several other strategies. So, Gillian, welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Great. Yeah, I look forward to speaking to you because as we were just kind of chatting before we got started, you mentioned something really cool that your sister is involved in, which is the SkyZone trampoline park. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. But before we get there, I want to ask you about your childhood. That's how I normally start. So I want you to kind of tell me where you grew up, what you remember from your childhood, just a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in Montreal. I used to be a perfect French speaker, but alas, I'm not so good anymore. If you don't practice, it doesn't stay with you too long. But yeah, I'm born and raised in Montreal. Absolutely loved it there. Then went to Queen's University and then settled in Toronto after I graduated. So I've got an older sister. I've got a brother who's 10 months older. And, I think we got up to regular kid shenanigans.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So how old were you when you moved from Montreal?
I lived there until I went to Queen's, so I was there, I guess, until I was 18 or 19, and then after graduating, all of my friends came to Toronto, so I followed them in search of gainful employment where I didn't have to be bilingual.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you were forced to learn French in Montreal,
right?
Yeah,
I was. Well, and it came easily, right? As a kid, That's easy stuff.
Okay, interesting. And why do you think that so many of your friends left Montreal?
Well, I mean, I've got a good number who did stay. I think I graduated from Queen's in '92. I think there was more opportunity here in Toronto. Most people migrated this way.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I went to a French school. Mm-hmm. My high school was in Mississauga, and I actually have some friends that went to Montreal for university, and a lot of them came back after. So not a lot of them stayed there. I don't know what it is, but it seems like people just don't like to stay for some reason.
Well, politically, things were still pretty unsettled for a while there, so I think Ontario just seemed like a safer bet after university for many.
Yeah, but I have some friends, like family friends, that are there, and they love Montreal.
Montreal is a great city.
I
think it's got such a European flair. It just seems more liberal somehow, funner, cooler.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is really fun. It just seems like people enjoy life there. It's not as crazy as it is here.
Yeah, there's just a way sort of freer feeling. People are less conservative. Easier with their time. I don't know. There's just a real. It's got a real European flair to it.
It does.
To Toronto.
Do you think that people from Montreal have an attitude?
Yeah, I think they kind of know they're cooler than everybody else.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so you go to Queens. What did you study?
Well, it's funny that I ended up being an entrepreneur because I took history. My dad was always really clear to me that you should take stuff that you like at university, that it wasn't on the job training, that you'd be spending your whole life doing work and getting better at work, that university was really a time just to expand your mind. So I took that quite seriously. So I took history, but I did take all my electives were business courses.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of in the same boat. I did a specialist in international relations. I didn't follow your dad's advice, though. I just did it to do it, just to have a degree. And if I can go back, I would definitely tell myself to study things that I enjoy. For example, when I was getting licensed in real estate, there was an investment analysis course, which was an elective, and I loved that course. I studied top, front to back, the whole book. I got a 98% on the exam, so
it
totally
shows,
different.
right? Easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to do well in things that you like.
Yeah, exactly. So much better. It's like, have you ever read anything about Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you probably know that he dropped out of college, but he would drop in on some of the classes that he liked. One of them was a calligraphy class.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, and that he took all that and put it into the Mac. So I think that's so cool. Like the different fonts. I think the Mac was the first computer that lets you select fonts, different fonts. Cool. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So yeah, it's interesting how things end up working out. All right. So can you walk me through, after you graduated, what was your life like at that point?
So after I graduated from Queens, I'd always loved math and stuff in high school. I didn't take it at university, but I ended up becoming a market research analyst after university and did that for years. And it was quite a slog. It really was. It was hard work. Being on supply side of any business where your clients pay you lots of money to produce results for you. The days never really ended, right? So if a report was due the next day, it didn't matter. Like, you stayed until it was done, and often it was really, really long hours. So any kind of consulting work like that, which is what I started in, was super, super long hours. But I liked it. It was interesting. It was with great people. I worked at a great firm, but I certainly put my hours in as a young employee, and doing that, also having kids, right? When I got married when I was 28, I did travel for a year. I quit my job and went traveling. But when I came back, I took the market research analysis and took it to an advertising agency where I was a strategic planner. And life in an ad agency was also crazy busy, right? Like, no one ever slept there. It was like Mad Men, right?
Yeah.
And so I had my first two kids when I was working at the ad agency, and then I knew something had to change in terms of my work-life balance and what I wanted. And so my mind started spinning way back then.
Okay. Has your life changed in that regard today?
Well, yeah. I mean, I work for myself now entirely, so I'm the creator of my own day, which I love. And I mean, there's pros and cons, right? There's you give up the steady paycheck, but you get a paycheck that comes from yourself instead. So that could be good or bad, depending on where you are in your cycle. Or your sort of growth pattern. So I love it. I can't imagine getting up and going to work every single day at 8:30 and coming home at 9 at night or whatever, or even going every day to work. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a very difficult thought to have. Like, for me too, because I'm kind of in the same thing where I create my own schedule. I produce as much as I get what I put in, right? And then to think going back to like a 9 to 5, that would be so difficult. I don't know how I don't think I'd ever be able to do that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So I feel really glad that I took the leap into entrepreneurship, even with all the rocky, bumpy bits.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure there's lots, right? Yeah, with your student rentals. So I know you bought your first duplex. Accidentally. You still have that today?
I do. I will never sell that home. It was turned out to be such a great asset for us, and I bought it without really knowing anything at all, right? So it just goes to show that even with a little bit of knowledge, you can action something and grow something pretty big from not knowing too much. So people hesitate getting started because they don't feel like they know much, but often all you need to do is pull the trigger and then sort it out afterwards.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, if you feel like you know everything, then either you just waited way too long to buy your first one, or you're sadly mistaken and you're going to come across some very unexpected things. So everyone kind of doesn't know what to expect when they buy their first one, unless they have a family member or someone very close to them who's guiding them along the way.
Right. Well, the truth of the matter is stuff will happen no matter what.
Yeah.
Anyway, even if you do, I mean, I still have stuff happen where you're like, wow, what was that?
Yeah.
And you always have to recalibrate and keep going. But I'm really glad I bought that house back in 2009. I'd gone for a run one day. I just finished reading that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which changes a lot of people's thinking about money and how to make money. And all I knew in my heart was that book made sense to me, that I wasn't going to get more money. Like, there's no more hours in the day for me to make money at work, right? Everyone had the same amount of hours. I couldn't work more. Yeah. And even if I did, I was salaried, right? So I wasn't going to get much more out of work. So I knew I had to take kind of things into my own hands. And I just loved that idea of buying a house and someone else pays down the debt for you and that you've got an appreciating asset. And so that's all I knew. Like, that's it. That's all I knew, was that you wanted a place where someone could pay the mortgage for you and you weren't out of pocket every month to make it an asset, not a liability. And I went for a run one day and there was this house for sale. And I came back from my run and I said to my husband, guess what? We're buying a house. And he said, what are you talking about? I thought you just went for a jog. Yeah. And we bought it. And it turned out that it was probably the greatest financial decision we ever made. That just because Toronto house values have been going up, we've refinanced it, we've taken all the money out that we ever put in and bought, and then we bought student rentals instead.
Okay, tell me about your student rentals. Where do you invest?
So again, I didn't know anything back then when I first started, so I got a coach. That to me was the first money I invested in myself and my knowledge around real estate, and that also turned out to be pretty smart because I bought that house in Toronto not knowing anything, and I thought, well, what if I actually became a real student of real estate? I mean, I did well without knowing much. What would happen if I really applied myself and became a true student of this? So I got a coach, and they introduced this idea that you don't have to invest where you live. And in fact, some of the best investments won't be anywhere near where you live. And I learned about economic fundamentals and finding a town that was growing and had good migration and all of those things. And so I ended up investing in Hamilton to start. A great market back in the day as well, still is. So I started off there, and then I went to St. Catharines, and I followed some like university towns in Southern Ontario. So I had some with Brock and Welland and Niagara College. So most of my student rentals are still out sort of Hamilton way.
Yeah, out west.
And
west
Welland
of Toronto.
way. Yeah, west of Toronto for sure.
Yeah, okay. Did you know some of the rules around owning student rentals and the rental rules and things like that when you got started, or did you just figure it out?
No, I mean, a little bit. Again, I was trying to inform myself as much as possible, but you have to kind of be flexible. And, I was a mother myself back then, so the idea of having a safe, clean place where I'd be happy sending my own kids was always a real guiding principle to me. So, I just wanted to make sure that, while I was thinking with my business lens and, how can I maximize rental income, I was also thinking like a mother, keeping these kids safe and giving them an environment where they'd be happy to live and it's clean and looks good, right? So that's what I was... So, and so you'd have to figure out the rules in order to make those two things match up.
Yeah, and what drew you to student rentals as opposed to more duplexes or whatever?
Well, I just, I love the idea of cash flow, of great cash flow, where you could have an asset like a house appreciating, but you also get really good cash flow every month. So, student rentals, you charge by the room, not by the house. And so when you chop up a property like that into like 6 different rooms or 7 different rooms, like I have in some of my places, then your rental income every month is quite big, right? So you have good cash flow as well. So you can use that as an income supplement if you wanted. Sometimes, or now it's harder to rely on the cash flow from houses just because prices are going up so much. But student rentals are one of those strategies where you actually get good cash flow at the end of the day.
Do you actually use that cash flow?
No. Well, I did, and I have, but now now I tend to take the, excess money at the end of the year and put it towards mortgage pay down.
Towards mortgage pay down. Okay.
Or I will aggregate the funds from the different houses and put it towards a different investment. So I'm not spending it on consumption, like shoes, which I want to, but I try to take those funds and reinvest as much as possible.
Okay. But maybe what I was getting at is, like the maintenance that's required in the homes, are you setting aside that cash flow, that surplus, in order to take care of some of that maintenance and the management as well?
Oh, no, absolutely. So, sorry, I thought you were talking about it in excess of that. I mean, student rentals, because there's so many bodies, do have pretty high maintenance fees, so to speak. There's more wear and tear because there's so many people and their kids, right? So,
parties.
I mean, I'm not too worried about like too much damage, but, things get scuffed up and worn down. So, yes, absolutely, you have to take some of that juicy cash flow and put it back into the house so that the standard of the home you have stays elevated and you keep attracting great tenants who want a house that looks good. Okay,
so you're accounting for all of that in your calculations, and then the excess beyond that, you're saying that you could technically use for yourself. Or for reinvestment,
or yourself, or whatever,
for shoes, whatever.
Or travel, better. Whatever.
Okay. What are some of the things that you look out for in a student rental? What are like some of the key components that you search for?
In terms of the layout of the house, do you mean? Or
it could be layout of the house, maybe number of rooms that you look for.
So when I first started buying student rentals, I bought the houses that were single family homes and converted them myself into student rentals.
And how did you do that?
I would just look for a house. So first of all, the first thing you're always starting with is location. It's always about location. So where is this house relative to the university or the college? Where are they relative to, the amenities like the library, the pubs, probably more the pubs than the library, but the bus routes, all those things. And so once you feel like you've got a good location, then you're looking for a layout of the house that will allow you to maximize rooms without stuffing the kids in like sardines, right? So you just have to look for that, and then you need a good construction team to help you execute on that.
Okay. So what kind of construction were you getting done? Or
it was more just creation of rooms, right? And making sure they were big enough, that there was egress, basement rooms all have to have windows to be compliant with safety standards. So it's really just about, again, maximizing number of rooms, but not overcrowding, not overstuffing them in there.
Okay.
Because the more rooms, the better, right? So it used to be that, like for me, the sweet spot was 6 rooms or 7 rooms. Some people have 8 rooms. I mean, honestly, it's as big as you can go.
What about like the legal secondary suites that have extra rooms down there with an extra kitchen and all that?
So I have some rentals that have second kitchens in the basement. I have some that just have like a fridge and a microwave. Again, it's about providing amenities in the house that would be appealing to the student population. So you need to have enough bathrooms. You need to have at least 2 refrigerators if you've got more than, 6 kids living there. So it's more just about making sure that it's like any other business where you want to be competitive. So you have to look and see what people down the street have versus what you have, and make sure you are at least what they have, and then more if necessary, right?
Yeah.
You want to stand out as a product. You're competing with lots of other landlords who have nice houses as well. So dishwashers. Some don't have dishwashers. Like, I would never rent a place that didn't have a dishwasher.
Well, do students even do their dishes?
Well, exactly. I mean, and air conditioning and just basic stuff like that. You have to make sure that you are competitive and have a product that people want to live in, let alone look good. And now they want. It's funny, when I went to university, I mean, we sat on milk crates and we bought our, we got our couches from, I don't know where we got our couches from, but the level of expectation now among kids is way higher. They want renovated kitchens with stainless steel appliances. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, for sure. Things are definitely a lot different now.
They're a picky lot, and in fact, they're not really your clients. Their parents are, right? Their
Yeah.
parents are the ones coming through the house, looking at things, making sure it's suitable for their kids. I don't think my parents ever came to my university house ever. I don't even think they ever saw it. I mean, they came to visit me, but they certainly were not involved in me signing the lease or helping me pick. And now parents are the ones who are co-signing the leases. They're the ones making the payments. They're the ones approving the house. And they want their kids living in places that are decent and well-maintained and well-kept and stuff. So you have to bear that in mind, too, as you're renovating or purchasing a house for students, that you're dealing with a lot of parents now, too.
Of course. And speaking of the leases, what are some of the things to look out for when you are getting the leases signed? Some of the must-haves, things of that sort.
You know, the thing I always worry most about as a parent is just the safety stuff. I mean, like, there's all the standard clauses you would have for any renters, but I'm just so insistent on them not tampering with the fire alarms and the smoke detectors, and because they do, like, if they burn their toast, they take the smoke detectors down and then they don't put them back up again. And you know, that would not only would, like, the loss of life if there's a fire or something, like, you'd never be able to live with yourself, but you also might get put in jail. Like, it is such a huge, like, for me, that's the biggest thing, is making sure that you have all the safety equipment in place and that they don't mess around with it.
And how do you do that? Do you do let's say quarterly inspections, or have somebody do that?
We do quarterly. We have a property manager. They're always doing quarterly inspections. On the lease, we make sure that key clauses like that are initialed by every right next to it. Like, they can't pretend like they didn't know. And then you have to have sort of photographic proof of the installation of everything and the maintenance of them as well. Like, you just have to kind of protect yourself that way. And then really wrap their knuckles if they don't, like, if they fiddle with those.
Well, what can you do? Let's say somebody pulls out the batteries from the smoke alarms or disconnects them.
Well, anyway, code is changing now too, where everything has to be interconnected.
Yeah.
We haven't upgraded everything yet, but we'd call their parents. Like, I would call the parents. I really would. Like, well, no, but you also want to, and it sounds ridiculous, right? Like, you phone the parents of the 20-year-old, but that's a letter where the property manager and me and all the students in the house and their parents would be CC'd on. Like, we've noticed that the fire alarms have been tampered with, you know.
Well, now you have proof as
now
well
you have
that
proof,
you're,
right?
Yeah, and everyone knows. It's not just the students. The parents know. Everyone knows.
This is it. So there's hardly anything that I'd get super involved in except for that. That's my personal one thing, just because I'm a mom myself and I have a son who's at university, and I just know that they can be irresponsible and silly and not think about it. So that's really the one thing that I really, really worry about. The rest, I feel like anything is fixable except for that.
Okay. Well, of course, that's a serious issue because people don't care, and they don't. You hear stories about homes burning down because of there's no smoke alarm, but at the end of the day, that's going to come back to you as a landlord, as the owner.
Yeah. So you have to be careful for maintenance stuff like that.
What about the who's on the sorry, not who's on the lease. The students are on the lease, but you're putting them all onto one lease?
We put them all onto one lease, and then we have the parents be the guarantors. We have a sort of a guarantee page by them. And it's funny because parents are happy to do that now. They fully expect that that they would have to pay in a pinch. Though mostly I have found that my university tenants pay. I mean, university or college is the destination of so many years worth of work, right? Like, you've been working hard to achieve and to arrive at a student rental, so you're not going to not pay your rent.
Well, how do you manage all those payments? Because let's say you have like 5 student rentals with 6 each. That's 30 different tenants.
Right. So I don't manage any of my houses personally, so I have property managers. They all have a variety of different sort of auto pay methods.
Right.
So almost everyone is on automatic payments
That's
now. There's
ideal.
not checks that are. I have a couple of parents who still insist on paying with checks. I mean, you can't force anyone to pay anyway, but we push people very, very strongly to either tenant pay or rent moolah or whatever it is, whatever the mechanism is you use, but it's auto payment, and the money's coming from their account into the correct bank account for me, automatically every month.
Okay. Have you had any tenants, maybe not necessarily with your students, but with others, where they were on, say, check payments or e-transfers, and you tried to convert them to the pre-authorized debit?
No, I use Rent Moolah for all my stuff, and it's automatic.
But I mean,
From a
did
check
you ever
method?
did you ever have to convince or maybe give someone incentive to switch from
everyone's
one method
easy.
to?
Most people want to simplify their lives. I just always present it as this is easier for you. It's easier for me. It's set it and forget it. Why would you ever have to do anything?
Well, yeah. I like for the reason I say that, I have tenants where it was my first property, so they were on e-transfer, which I realize now is a big mistake because they forget often to pay on time, and then I have to do the N4s and this and that, and I don't feel like doing that. So I tried to tell them to go to pre-authorized to make their lives easier, but they just don't seem convinced to. They're not very motivated to do that. So I was just trying to figure out maybe
there's an incentive. No, everyone. I mean, I'm really lucky. My tenants are as busy as I am. Like and they just want an easy thing that you don't think about.
You don't think about it just happens, which is ideal. That would be the best thing for everyone, I think.
Yeah, or even I mean, it's not as good, but even if you got all your post-dated checks, that's fine. I just don't.
Yeah, it's the same concept. It's just more work.
Yeah, it's more work.
Yeah, the pre-authorized debit is amazing. It's just so easy. All right, good. Is there any mistakes you made with your student rentals? Anything that you can share to help someone avoid making the same mistakes?
It's funny because, now there's a standardized lease, and but you can still have all your clauses in the appendix and stuff. But it's funny. Like, I used to think that I had the most bulletproof student rental lease ever, and these kids are smart, so they'll always think of something, right? So. I had a student rental in St. Catharines, and it had a garage attached to the house, and I can't remember which winter it was, but it was one of the coldest winters on record, and on their lease I paid the utilities, and so they had this 3-day beer pong tournament in my garage, which they heated using electric heaters.
Oh, wow.
And I got the most astronomical bill ever. So I'll only be burned once, and then I won't be burned again. So all my leases after that, even if I have all-inclusive utilities, I have a utilities cap, and that's not meant to nickel and dime anyone. Like, it's set within reasonable limits to make everyone comfortable, and you can make it a little bit too hot or a little bit too cool in winter, but not to heat the non-heated garage with space heaters for 4 days in winter.
That is ridiculous.
So that protected me from those crazy overages. And then I had a tenant also who filled a huge overland pool using the water.
Oh.
And that also I had to pay for. It just infuriated me. So
of course. Well, yeah.
So never again, right? So now I have the mechanisms like that built into the lease. So you're never always going to get everything right, but you always have a method to fix as you go.
Of course. Is that enforceable? Like, let's say somebody does fill their pool with your water and you take them to court.
So that the people who had the water bill, they actually were one of the few tenants I've ever had to evict. I was able to garnish their wages for unpaid rent, but I never recovered the water.
Okay.
I never recovered the water.
Right. So are you saying, well, you weren't capped at that point?
Well, no, because they paid their own. They paid their own utility, and it was in a house, and they paid their own utilities. But water is a tricky one because it follows the house, not the tenant. So it just gets put onto your. It's hard. Water's a hard one.
Yeah, and the water tank too. I don't think the water tank is transferable to a tenant, right? So you have to include that into your lease.
Yeah, you have to be careful about that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right, I want to move on to something that I'm kind of excited to ask you about, which is your SkyZone project. Okay. Can you share with me, I know you told me earlier, but what your sister decided to do a few years ago?
So, so I'm the co-owner of SkyZone Whitby, which is a 36,000 square foot trampoline park. And I got involved with that. That park opened in 2015. And so I'm half owner of that, but I got involved because my sister, actually, she's a brilliant entrepreneur, and she was the first person actually to be an international franchisee for SkyZone. So she brought the first trampoline park to Canada. I think that was in 2009. I want to say it was 2009. Anyway, she was really clever because she bought the master franchise agreement for the GTA, which is a big responsibility as well, because you have obligations to set up your territory in like fairly short order. So she started with SkyZone Mississauga and then opened SkyZone Toronto. So her goal was to kind of have them positioned one north, west, east, and south. So Toronto's a bit central, not south, but so she got Toronto, Mississauga, Vaughan, and Whitby. And so in order to open up Vaughan and Whitby at the same time, she needed a partner to do that. So I helped her with that.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
How did that happen? From how did she even come across that opportunity?
Well, so her sister-in-law, so her husband's brother's wife. I know. So again, family, right? It's like it's her sister-in-law was an early franchisee in the States, and so. I guess is hearing about a business idea from a trusted person is a really helpful way to get started in something, because you get insights into how it runs, what the margins are, what the capital requirements are. And so my sister felt confident talking to her sister-in-law about this new business idea, and then saw her implement it and saw it in action. And so that made her, one, have someone who she could hitch her car to, and then follow suit as well. And so it was very similar to me. I see this great business idea. I'm like, wow, that's so great. I'd love to be a part of that. And to be able to partner up with someone you trust. So obviously my sister, to have real insight into the inner workings, like what the true risks and benefits are, made it an easier move for me, right? But it's the same in real estate too. You watch people who are doing something you find interesting, and you either align yourself with them or talk to them and gain insight, and so you hook up or mentor with them someone who has a good business idea. It's the exact same thing that I did with my sister.
That's great. How does that work? She has the master franchise rights for the GTA. So that means that at this point, is she sub-franchising the business to people in different cities, or
no? So she owns the parks in all the four kind of locations.
Yeah.
But you can't just buy the franchise rights for Toronto and then not open them. So you are obligated to open your parks in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And so she bought the rights, and then she opened the parks, and they're hers.
Cool. Good for her. That's awesome. Is that her full-time job, or does she do?
I think it's like her full-time and a half job.
Full-time and a half. Was she doing something before that? Work?
She was also. I mean, she worked at the CBC with her husband, actually. So we all have the entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah.
Underneath it all.
Yeah. So both of you grew up in Montreal, I'm guessing, and you both came to Toronto.
Yeah.
Do you have any other siblings?
I have a brother. He lives out west, though.
Okay.
Yeah, he moved away to Vancouver.
Okay. Why did your sister come to Toronto?
I mean, she had her boyfriend come here after university. He went to York and did his MBA, and so she was ready to set up roots here as well. Oh,
good for you. Yeah, that's really cool to hear that. So you're doing very well in real estate. Your sister's doing very well with the SkyZone trampoline parks. So it's cool that your whole family is just kind of flourishing, and things are going well for you. Do you have plans to? What are your plans moving forward with your real estate, with your business, maybe other ventures?
I don't know. I think with I certainly have the real estate investing bug. I feel like there's so many ideas. I spent my early career only focusing on student rentals. I really took the advice of my coach and mentor to heart, which is to be an expert and not to have shiny penny syndrome. It's really hard to get good at something when like you're doing this strategy and that strategy and this strategy and that strategy. I really focused for a long time, and it was only after several years where I looked to other real estate investing strategies. So now I do rent to owns I bought a pre-construction condo, which I'm really happy about. And so there's lots of ideas, like multifamily stuff that I'm interested in now too. So I think I feel more confident to explore all sorts of different strategies now. So I think in terms of the real estate stuff, I'll just keep on keeping on. And in terms of the business, I don't know, maybe, who knows where that will lead us, right?
Now that you're at a place where you're actually looking at different strategies, if somebody's asking you for advice, would you share what your coach told you, or would you tell them to look at different strategies in real estate?
No, I really think if you want to get good at real estate, you need to concentrate first. Like you need to just pay attention in one area to begin with, and then get good at that. Before I really, really think that advice to focus was the best one, and it is for everyone. You can't, what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. Like you need to get good at something before you expand. And I think I would give that same advice to anyone else who was looking to invest in real estate, at least as a serious, venture.
Yeah, I agree. I think a portfolio of say one single family, one student rental, one rent to own, I don't think that's a very nice portfolio. You probably do a lot better if you, like you said, just focus on one thing. Just keep going, put all your energy into it.
Yeah, especially if you want to grow. Like I was, I mean, I knew in the early days I didn't want to just have, I wanted to grow a substantive portfolio over time, and so that strategy made particularly good sense to me.
Yeah, good. All right, we'll talk about one more thing, which is is it mothers in real estate or mothers
of real estate?
Oh,
okay, well that's that's a passion project of mine. Me with my two great friends and colleagues, Rachel Oliver and Monica Jazik, who are also both fantastic lifelong real estate investors. We got together a few years ago. I don't know, we just felt like there weren't a ton of women real estate investors. And, we all had sort of uniquely different strategies, and we realized that if we kind of got together, that we'd have this incredible holistic view of the real estate investing world. Rachel is an expert in rent-to-owns. Monica is like a buy-rent, refinance, student rentals. And so we had this really great holistic view of the industry and have done a lot of deals between the three of us. So we got together and we've created a fundamentals of real estate investing online course as a way of inspiring and motivating other women to kind of roll up their sleeves and get started and do it with confidence, knowing that if you have the right tracks to follow, that you can be really successful doing this.
Can you share a success story of somebody that maybe looked up to you, and a mother or a woman that was able to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I think any of our students who take the course and who were feeling nervous and uncertain would be, there's lots of people who would take the course and feel like they have the confidence now, knowing that they have the tools in their toolkit, like a system to follow, how to analyze a property, how to select a market, how to find a submarket. These are the things you need to get started.
Great. Yeah, I met Monica. I've seen her twice. Very, very nice lady. I don't think I've ever met Rachel, but
she's got a great business. Really, really great. So all the rent-to-owns I do with her. Like I don't do them alone. I hook my cart to the wagon of someone who is more knowledgeable than me. And they've been great.
Does it give you, because obviously that's a totally different kind of goal. At the end of the day, if you're doing a rent to own, you're looking for, it's kind of like a medium term ROI, sort of like you finish in 2-3 years and you get the money out.
Yep.
Whereas with your student rentals, that's more of a long-term game. Why is it that you decided to go with rent-to-owns? Is it anything in particular for you?
So again, I absolutely love and respect Rachel in the business that she runs with Clover Properties. But again, it's running a trampoline park, having my own active real estate investments, investing in a rent-to-own as a passive strategy where I hand off the underwriting of the tenant buyers to someone else, knowing that they have an amazing success rate, and then I can get this really great annual return. So you're in, you're out, again, it's like a complement to my portfolio, whereas I wouldn't stack everything with rent to owns because I like the long-term full appreciation that you get from a house. But I also like returns that are in the mid-20s every year. Like that's pretty great. You don't get those everywhere. And you don't have to do anything. So that's great to me. Like great returns for no effort. But again, aligned with a company that shares the same values and is run by someone who I trust, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, perfect. Let's get into the final section, which is the random 5. I'm going to ask you 5 random questions.
Oh dear.
And you can just...
Should I be nervous?
No. I don't know why everyone gets nervous with that part. It's nothing... What can I possibly ask that would make you nervous? I don't know. Do you have anything in mind that would make you nervous?
No, I don't. I got nothing to hide.
Okay. All right. The first one is, would you rather bike 50 kilometers or run 10?
Oh, run 10 for sure.
You're a runner,
oh,
obviously.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to. Oh, yeah, run 10 for sure.
Oh, okay. What have you, like, how often do you run?
Okay, so I'm injured at the moment, which is really sad. I've hurt my foot, so I haven't been running. I'm actually been given the clean bill of health to start running again next week, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I had a really bad foot injury.
What happened?
I don't know. I got plantar fasciitis after a run one day, and I honestly haven't been able to run for 3 months. It's been horrid. But I'm not a competitive runner. I do it... and I've sort of been out of it for a while, truthfully, but I love running.
Okay, that's great. So what events have you done? Any marathons, half marathons?
No,
just run.
I'm just
for exercise, stay healthy.
I just run for exercise. I just like it. I just like running.
Awesome. I like to run too. So I would definitely pick running over biking. What's your favorite guilty pleasure?
Wow, that's a hard one. I think I've got several. I love a really great glass of red wine. I love, on occasion, binge watching Netflix shows. I always feel like it's such a waste of time. And I don't do it that often, but when I do, it feels really good.
All right. Those are good ones. Okay, name a hobby that not many people know about that you're interested in.
That I'm interested in? That they don't know about me?
Yeah, like most people probably wouldn't know that you like this specific hobby or whatever.
What is a good hobby that I like to do?
Arts and crafts.
No, I'm not an arts and crafts gal.
Random math.
Random math?
Yeah, like reading your children's math books and doing...
No. What would I say? You know what? I would have said that no one would have thought. You know what? I like hot yoga.
Oh, okay.
That's my hobby. I like hot yoga.
Do you do it often?
Well, when I can.
Yeah. So like once, twice, 3 times a week, something like that? Twice a week?
I really like hot yoga.
Yeah, that is really, really good. I've never done it, but I've seen my sister do it. But anyways. Okay, what do you do to feel inspired or uplifted? I
love that question. I like, I guess I get a lot of inspiration. I like inspiring books. I like inspiring videos. I don't know. You just got to find a message that resonates with you and focus on that, I guess. Yeah, like, I don't know. I've got such a, I'm kind of mushy. Like, I like goal cast videos, like all of those. I love watching success stories of other people who've overcome challenges. That really motivates me. Yeah.
Is there anything in particular that you can think of, any book that recently inspired you? Or not necessarily a book?
I don't know. There are these... because I have a child with a disability, there was this man who was a 4-way amputee who climbed up Mount Kilimanjaro. Like, I don't know, watching stuff like that, like overcoming big physical challenges. I just find that so powerful and motivating. One, because I'm an able-bodied woman, and I just like the determination, even with a limitation, and that people can have this like incredible spirit despite like either physical adversity or I find that so motivating and empowering and moving and yeah.
I agree with you. There's I forget the name, but there is a man in the States who has a son who is disabled and doesn't have much mobility at all. But he actually takes his son and he does, I think, triathlons with him in the wheelchair.
Oh, I know. Hoyt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hoyt, that's the one.
Yeah, he has cerebral palsy, and the father, I think, was really unwell. Like, he either had like a heart condition or he himself was not. Anyway, he started running with his fully grown son, who's a man, and swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Team Hoyt. I remember reading about them too, and I just found it absolutely remarkable.
That is really, really impressive. Just the act itself of completing the running and the swimming and all that is difficult, but to drag someone with you, that's incredible.
So to do that with someone, and also just the inclusion, right?
Yes,
to have your son with you, so that he is a participant in this like this huge physical feat.
Yeah.
And and you can just see the look on the boy's face. Like, you can just see the joy that he, like, it just is a team accomplishment.
Exactly.
Yeah. And just incredible.
Yeah, because that story wouldn't be as fascinating if it was just the Hoyt, the father, doing it on his own. The fact that they're doing it together is what makes the story special. Yeah. So there you go. And that's something maybe inspiring for someone to look into as well.
Yeah. Incredible.
Okay. Who do you look up to?
I look up to so many people, people who have incredible business accomplishments, but people who are serving our community. I don't know. There's so many people doing so many amazing things, and it's not all about bottom line. There's just givers, people who are contributing back to our neighborhoods and our communities. I don't know. There's too many to list. I just feel like there's so many great people out there who've mastered so many different things. I'm sort of humbled, right? Like, I have so much to learn from so many people. That's right. Too many people to mention that I admire. Yeah, and great women, men, and like just so many. I know it's not a real answer, but
that's all right. It'll do. Okay. Can you tell people how they can reach you and what services you might be able to provide?
So, if they'd like to reach me for the real estate fundamentals course, they can find me at info@mothersofrealestate.com. If they're interested in coaching for student rentals, or I don't do that much coaching, but I will on occasion. That's Gillian at GillianIrving.com. And that's pretty much it, I guess. Those are my emails.
Great. There you go. The 2 emails. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. That was really fun chatting with you.
It was fun. It was fun. Yeah. Well, I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll continue to grow and have amazing new ventures like the SkyZone stuff. So all the best to you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Great. Thanks so much, George.